Hey guys, it's Sam and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is not the first time I've been on YouTube, but it is kind of the beginning of a new era of me doing YouTube. So I figured I would do a video to just reintroduce myself for anyone who's been here before and wants like major life updates because a lot has changed, or to introduce myself for the first time to anyone who's just meeting me where I'm at now. We have a lot of ground to cover. I want to start with some of the basics just for anyone who literally has no idea who I am and wants to just jump in. My name is Sam. I'm 28 years old, which feels really old when I say it out loud like that. I grew up in New Jersey and I've been living in New York City since 2019, which makes it 7 years now. I own the apartment I'm sitting in, which is really important to me, and I will mention it later in this video. My boyfriend lives here with me. We love him. He's the one. And I'm super into wellness, health, fashion, beauty, travel, all the same things all the girlies are interested in. We're just the same. We're the same. But I wanted to make this video because while some of you guys have been with me since literally 2016, I have reinvented myself about 1,000,000 times. So if you are brand new and you're just coming in, it's really hard to jump in and just feel like you know me because it probably just seems like I can't pick an identity. And to that, I will say I am a triple Gemini, and that's what everybody says about Geminis. Like my sun, moon, and rising are all Gemini. So in some ways, it's definitely true that I can't pick an identity, but I promise there are good reasons for all the twists and turns in my life. And I figured it would just be easiest to kind of tell you my chaotic life story, the history of me, who I am, how I got to where I am today, so you can come along for the ride and not feel like you're getting left behind, and so you can understand who I am and where I come from and all that. So we're gonna start by going all the way back to era number 1, which a lot of you don't even know about. Like my OGs know about it, but didn't really see it because that wasn't an era when people were posting on Instagram. To be honest, it was like early mid 2000s. So people weren't TikToking and Instagramming and talking about their lives on the internet the way they are now. And my OGs know about it because I talk about it from time to time, but we never really got into a story time about it. And I promise this video is not a different story time about every single different version of myself, but I think I owe it to you to lay the groundwork. So era number 1 is when I thought I was gonna be a professional ballerina. So I grew up in New Jersey, went to high school in New Jersey, and I was really into 2 main sports. One was tennis. I come from a tennis family. My dad's a tennis pro. My parents met at a tennis tournament. My brother's a tennis pro. All my grandparents play tennis. Like, it is a generational thing in my family. So I played tennis and I was pretty good at it. I had like a USTA ranking. And then my other quote sport, which like I don't know that I would call it a sport. I would say it's harder than a lot of sports, to be honest. But my other like thing that I did was dance. Anyone who plays high school sports or like does a thing very seriously in high school knows that ultimately there comes a time when you have to choose one. Because like, how are you going to be the best at it if you're not giving it your all, you know? So ultimately I was fine at tennis, but like I didn't think I had it in me to be like the best at tennis. And I knew I had it in me to be the best at dance. So ultimately I chose dance and I started training dance, I would say like 35, sometimes 40 hours per week on top of going to like a normal, regular public high school. That's when it definitely kind of escalated because that's when I started doing like summer intensives and like pretty serious ballet programs outside of my normal training. So I had like a local studio that I trained at in New Jersey, but then I would also travel to New York City to train. And then over the summer, I would like go either live somewhere for the summer, like board somewhere to dance, or would stay at home and commute because, to be honest, a lot of the best ballet in the world is in New York City, and growing up in New Jersey, you have that access, which is a privilege that I do not take for granted, never have, never will. I would say my favorite summer intensive that I ever did was Alvin Ailey. We trained at the studios here in the city, and it was just like the most insanely amazing experience. And not to toot my own horn, but I was pretty good. We were there for probably 2 full months. I was a featured dancer in one of the like big choreographed performances at the end of the program. And a couple of my friends who were at my level in my program ended up going to Juilliard. So just to give you an idea of like the level of like seriousness I was taking it. When I was 13, I was performing a solo at like a total throwaway performance for my studio. Like it wasn't an important show, but I was like giving it my all because if you were ever a dancer, you know that's just how it is. That said, within the first maybe 25 seconds of performing this solo, I broke my foot. And in dance, you just finish the dance. You just finish it and you act like you didn't just break your foot. So not only did I finish the dance, but then afterwards I was like, this is crazy. My foot like really hurts. And my family was like, I think you're fine. Let's just go to dinner. So I went out to dinner with my entire family. And then like, we're at dinner and I'm like, it's crazy. It still really hurts. And they're like, I think you're fine. Like, let's get dessert. So we like get dessert. And I'm like, it's crazy. I think it really hurts. And they're like, all right, we'll go to the emergency room and just check it out. And they were like, hey, so that's not a good break. Like, that's actually not a clean one even. Like, it's actually a bad one. So that's cool. They had to like move my foot around with the broken bones inside of it. That was unpleasant. Long story short, that was my first injury, but they were like, bones heal back stronger. You're young, you're gonna be fine. Let's just put you on crutches for a little bit, get you in a boot, and then you'll be good. So that was rough because that was really my first time off of dance, and it was like mentally really hard on me to just like go after school to the dance studio, and you had to like attend all of your classes still. So I was still attending 35 hours of classes a week, but you had to sit in the corner and take notes instead of like doing it. And at that time in my dance career, if you will, I was still like a featured performer at my studio. So like my role where I was like the highlighted dancer, like being lifted and thrown around front and center, like I was watching other people take it in front of my very eyes. Yeah, so that sucked. Anyway, I recovered, was doing great, was 16 years old going into like, I think I was a junior. And so I was like gearing up to start choreographing my solo that I would use for college auditions, where I was planning to go to like a dance school. I was planning to take it really seriously. Like I was like, I'm gonna go to New York and audition for Juilliard. And one day my knee swelled up real bad and hurt real bad. And I was like, that's crazy. That's crazy. Like it won't be like an injury. Not only was it an injury, but I was on crutches for a year and a half from this injury. I had to have 2 surgeries on my right knee. And it wasn't like, oh, I was dancing and like fell on it or landed on it weird and like injured it. It was like, I have just been twisting and turning and like using that part of my leg for so long in such a way that like your body doesn't like. Like ballet, your feet are never parallel. Like if you go to the gym, they're like knees over toes for safety, right? So in ballet, your feet are out like that. So you're actually just like bending and landing on unstable joints, like long story short. So basically like the spot where your knee bends in your leg, there was no cartilage between my bones anymore at age 16 because I had just trained too hard, I guess. And I probably didn't have good joints to begin with because my family has a history of joint problems. So I get the 2 surgeries and a year and a half on crutches basically in a row. I'll never forget the time I got the call. I had just, literally not even kidding you, I was walking out to go to my first dance class in like 8 months after being on crutches for 8 months after this surgery. And I was gonna go to my first class and stand in the back and was finally allowed to like warm up at the bar and kind of do like basic things. And I'm walking out with my dance bag and I get a phone call from my doctor and he said, don't go to class. Or he said, go to class, but like go on crutches and you can't dance. And I just remember being 16 years old and like heart shatter, like my heart in my throat and my stomach in my freaking feet. Like it was the most traumatizing phone call I had gotten in my life at that point. No one had died in my life at that point, just to be clear. So that was just a really, really difficult thing. And then the second surgery, the recovery was even longer. And they were basically like, you're going to miss your whole senior year of dance and you probably should never dance again. Wow. Okay, cool. I thought I was going to be starring in the New York City Ballet's Nutcracker. So that was horrible. That was kind of the end of the road for me. By the way, if I like stop and start a couple times and like take breaks in between, it's because my camera overheated because I'm just yapping and it's running at 4K. So like it gets hot sometimes and then I'll have to like move it, like open the window, cool it off. Like it's a whole thing. So if I have to stop and start over, that's why. You're just gonna have to roll with it. Anyway, knee injury brings us to era number 2, which is my college era, which is when so many of you guys met me and a ton of you guys who follow me now literally started following me back then, which is like the honor of my life that you care like that and that we're besties like that. And the reason so many of you met me then is because that was truly the golden age of Instagram, when you would post a picture that was kind of like Pinterest or like Tumblr worthy and you would gain 300 Instagram followers just like because you posted a cute pic. For those of you who don't know, I went to Elon University in North Carolina and I decided to study magazine journalism because when I was 8 years old, I saw The Devil Wears Prada and decided that like I wanted to be Andy Sachs more than I wanted to breathe oxygen. And did I think I was gonna be a ballerina? Yes, but I also knew how long a shot that was, that I would like be able to do it in a way that was sustainable and helped you make a living. Like some of the best ballerinas in the world make not enough money to live in New York City. So I had this like kind of dose of realism in the back of my head that was like, all right, like this might not work out. Did I know it was not gonna work out because of a soul crushing knee injury? No, but that's just how the cookie crumbles. So anyway, I just like had this like interest in magazine journalism already. So I was like, all right, well, that's my career now since I'm not gonna be a professional ballerina. And I specifically wanted to work at Cosmopolitan magazine. Honestly, what happened along the way was kind of a surprise because that's how I accidentally became an influencer. I was just really into like dressing cute, and I was really into all the themed frat parties we were doing at college. I would wear like cute costumes, do my makeup, like really, like for example, I'll like put some pictures around me on the screen, but like there would be like, this is like a weird theme to think about, but I just like am picturing the photo I posted on Instagram, but there was like a Noah's Ark themed party and every guy in the frat brought 2 girls dressed as the same animal. Do you know what? That sounds so insane, but like it was basically a date party, and it was like a way for a guy to bring 2 girls. And it was really fun for the girls because like we were freshmen, we were so nervous. These guys were older than us and we were cute, so they wanted to bring us. But bringing your best friend as like the other animal made you feel comfortable going and made you feel like you had like someone with you. So it wasn't just like you and this random guy who's 3 years older than you who you met 2 weeks ago when you got here for your first day of school. Do you know what I mean? So like it's a little bit weird and objectifying and like bizarre, but it actually was like a really good date party to go to early on in college because just having your best friend with you made you feel so much more comfortable. Anyway, I was just like known for wearing very cute, very 2016 coded outfits, and a bunch of my Instagram photos would go viral on Pinterest, on Tumblr, on Instagram. I would like find pictures of myself. I'd be just scrolling on Pinterest and like come across like 3 pictures of myself. It was kind of weird, to be honest. That was also the era when like Total Frat Move would like repost pics of hot college girls, and like my pictures got reposted a couple times. And even without that stuff, I just cannot emphasize enough how different Instagram was, where like anytime I would post, I would gain 200 to 300 followers. Like every time I would post. And it was just, I don't even know if the explore page existed back then. Like I don't know how people were finding my stuff, but you would just gain hundreds of followers per post. So I was like posting a lot because I was like, fuck yeah. And that's kind of how I accidentally became an influencer, because I'll never forget the first jewelry company that reached out to me. I can't remember the name and it'll drive me crazy. I will like put it on the screen if I can figure it out. I can't remember, but I do remember what they sent me. They sent me a cute white beaded necklace with like little gold charms on it, and they sent it to me for free. And I just remember being like, oh my God, they want to give me free stuff. Like I am so humbled and honored. Like, what is going on? Like, I don't understand. And they gave me a discount code, and I just remember posting the code and being like, if you enter this code in like the coupon box when you're buying the product, like at the end when you're putting in your shipping information, you can get like 10% off. Like that's amazing. That's a great discount. This is before people were like, use code SAM10 at checkout for 10% off. Like that wasn't a thing that I knew existed. The only influencers at this time were like Ami Song and like, what is it, like Cupcakes in Cashmere or something. And like Danielle Bernstein was like, she was like a new hot thing. So this was like totally unfamiliar to like me and everybody I knew, but I just felt so cool. I was like starting to get free stuff. I also remember like Dick's Cottons. I don't know if you know that brand. Like, I don't even know if they still exist, but they would like send me sunglasses, and they were aviators with like colored lenses. Like it was so, all of it was so 2016. And that was like all just because I was like gaining new followers and thought it was cool and was like posting a lot, and had no idea like that this could turn into business. So that was just kind of like an accident that happened in college, and like that's how a lot of us connected. And thank God we did, because that's my besties right there. Influencer stuff definitely popped off even more when I went to study abroad, because like I said, influencers were not really a thing, and I was posting everything. Like everywhere I went, I was like, can you take a cute picture of me? And I got so many cute photos that would go viral on Pinterest, on Tumblr. And like so many girls were like, I decided to study abroad because I followed you on Instagram, or like I saw your pic here and it made me want to go there. Like it was crazy. That really was, I think, ultimately the foundation for what would be my content creation career, because like those photos popped off. And like I ended up being like an ambassador for like Bus to Alps, which was like weekend trips for your study abroad program. Like there was so much going on And that was just like a really big part of my college experience. Now, all of this is happening, but at the time, I'm not like, this is a job. Like, what do you mean this is a job? This is not a job. Like in 2016, when we were in college, like posting cute pictures and like going on total frat move, like because we were cute, like I was still laser focused on journalism. So I'm starting to do summer internships. I did one at Stylecaster. I did one at She Media. I did one at Clever. Long story short, this is all college, right? I get back from study abroad and I'm like, you know what? The odds that I get the Cosmo job are actually pretty slim because there was pretty much one entry-level job at Cosmo and it was to be the editorial assistant, which was basically kind of like the assistant to the whole team in a way. Like you kind of were just the glue that kept every team together and every team functioning and passing messages between the teams so that everything would like operate smoothly. But the main function of the role was actually being the assistant to the editor-in-chief, who at the time was Jess Pels. So I'm getting back from study abroad and I'm like, okay, there's basically one job. And I had stalked Cosmo enough to know who had the job and like how long they had the job for. Like I found her Instagram. I was like, when she got the job, she like posted and like all this stuff, right? So like I know a lot. And I think that's more common for people to do now. It was not as common for people to do back then. So like all my friends thought I was insane for like going and finding this girl's social media profiles, for knowing so much about the magazine. Like people thought I was crazy. I won't tell the whole story time of how I like completely manifested my job at Cosmo, but long story short, I decided to graduate a semester early because I know at this point the girl who has the job has been in the job for like 1.5 to 2 years. I know in my head that's like, okay, you're not gonna be an assistant for much more than 2 years unless you're like a career assistant. And I know this girl like didn't want that. Like she was young, she wanted to like grow in the industry, whatever. And she did, by the way, great career, that woman. I'm kind of like, well, what if this job becomes available and I'm still in school and I can't have it? Because then what would happen is someone would get it right before I graduated and then like it would take, I'd miss the window. Because then what, I'm 3 years out of college or 2 years out of college and like trying to be an assistant. I'm hoping to be an assistant right out of college so that I can like grow. I ate with that because I only had like 2 or 3 credits left or something for my senior year. So my academic advisor was like, you can totally graduate early. Let's do like a 2-credit individual study program. And when you do those at Elon, you could decide what you studied. And so I was like, I want to do social media. So I developed my own course, my own semester-long course, a 2-credit program where I would like learn about social media and the marketing opportunities there and the business possibilities in that industry. At the time, they didn't even have anything really about social media. There weren't even like a lot of, I don't even know if there was a digital marketing class. Like this was really before like all that popped off. There was only one social media class and it was in the graduate program. And they were like, you can sit in on it, but you can't take it for credits. So I developed my own program. I like do the 2 credits and long story short, I graduate 1 semester early from Elon and I'll never forget the exact circumstances of my life. I'm about to wrap up classes. I have 2 more weeks left in the semester before I'm like graduated from college. My ex, my boyfriend at the time, is visiting me at school. All my friends are there and it's basically like 2 weeks of partying because it's just like finals week. So like if you're done with your exams, like you're just drinking and partying. If you're not done with your exams, but you only have 1 left, you're like studying, but like ideally you're kind of prepared. Then there's those of us who are like crunching for like some of our exams, you know, like everyone's in different places, but things are starting to wind down. So I just remember we're going out every night, we're having a grand old time. And 2 weeks before my last day of school, guess what job opens up? So I apply, I take an edit test. They love my edit test. They say, can you come to New York for an in-person interview? It's really important because you'll be assisting the editor-in-chief and she like wants to meet you. I say, it would be my honor. I fly to New York, I meet Jess. I have the interview of a lifetime. Literally got the job maybe 2 days later. They call me on the phone. I'm standing in mismatched socks. There's gotta be an image. I have an image somewhere. My ex-boyfriend took this photo, like what a loser. But anyway, I literally get the phone call. I mute them, I'm screaming, jumping up and down in this apartment. I will never forget. And for the next week and a half, I partied my fucking ass off. I had the best last 2 weeks of school anyone ever had in their lives. And that was era number 2, college. And I promise the other eras won't all be as long as these. But I just feel like for those of you who didn't know me then and either came from reality TV or like came from Instagram like later in life, I just feel like those are so foundational to like my life story, who I am, my career trajectory, all of that. And they were just important developmentally to me. So I wanted to give you the full shebang. Anyway, we're in era number 3. And you might be thinking that we're immediately gonna go talk about Cosmo, but actually there wasn't, what is going on here? There's actually an era that happened sort of overlapping college and Cosmo that we definitely need to touch on because like it is and was a big part of my life. And that's the brunch club era. When I decided to open brunch club, I had already decided that I was gonna graduate early. But again, like I always had this healthy dose of realism that was like, ballet might not work out, Cosmo might not work out. Like these are kind of one in a million things, like to become a prima ballerina with the New York City Ballet or to like get the one job at Cosmo that like thousands of girls across the country are dying for. So I talked to my parents about it and I was like, listen, I'm graduating early. And we agreed that I should have a project that I was working on in case the Cosmo job didn't pan out so that I could be doing something to A, make money, but also B, build my resume in case I ended up needing to like continue to job hunt during my last semester. And at the time I was like sort of doing like the content creation thing. Like I was a Victoria's Secret pink ambassador, like a Bumble ambassador, like we were doing all kinds of stuff. And I loved fashion. So we decided to start an online clothing boutique. And I say we because my mom was so beyond instrumental in the whole thing and I literally could not have done it without her. And she will always downplay her participation and her role in the whole thing, but like don't let her fool you. Instrumental. So she gave me an initial investment of $5,000 and I said to her, what if this doesn't work out and I can't pay you back? And she said, first of all, I believe in you. She said, first of all, I believe in you and I believe that you're gonna pay me back this $5,000. But if that doesn't happen, $5,000 is a number that I'm okay with losing as like an investment in giving you the opportunity to try. Can I just say what a privilege that is and like one that I do not take for granted? I know most people do not have that opportunity and most people do not have the privilege of getting an investment like that from anyone, let alone their parents and with no strings attached. And that was a blessing. And that was pretty much the reason I was able to start because I did not have enough money to be like putting together a business, especially a retail business where you have to like buy the inventory first before you sell it. So that was crucial. So we started to learn how to run a business. We set up an LLC, we started shopping for inventory, we got a retail license, we set up a website, we photographed the clothes. Let's just say I paid her back that $5K within an hour of the first collection dropping. We ate with that. So the first collection popped off. Like I will always remember exactly where I was when the collection dropped. I was at the hair salon. My mom and I were both getting our hair done from the lady who has done our hair since the day of our birth because she did my grandmother's hair on her wedding day. And my mom was in the chair getting her hair done and I was sitting on the floor with my laptop and my mom had brought a bottle of champagne, you know, like in case it went well, but like we didn't know. And I remember setting it live and if you have a Shopify store and you have the app on your phone and your volume is on, every time an order goes through, it goes cha-ching, like a real cash register sound. And I'm not even kidding you guys, within like 6 minutes, it was like cha-ching, cha-cha-cha-cha-ching, ching, cha-cha-cha-cha. Like my phone was freaking out and all of us are like, ah, like we're all running around the hair salon, like freaking out, yelling, like, oh my God. And we end up popping champagne and celebrating. I pay my mom back immediately out of that first earning. So this era kind of overlaps with college and Cosmo and also even a little bit beyond Cosmo because I did it as a side hustle basically. I basically started it in case I didn't get the job at Cosmo, but then I did get the job at Cosmo, but then it was like popping off. So I was like, we can't just like leave this. We can't just do this for like 2 months and then like let it go. And it was making really good money. So I was like, let's just do it as a side hustle. It's kind of crazy to me looking back, like how many of you guys shopped it and like how well it did. I mean, there were countless times when we would log on to the back end of Shopify like 10 minutes before a drop and we would log on and see that like 6,000 people were waiting on the website for the drop. Like that is mind-blowing. And it was so fun and so rewarding and so exciting at times. But that said, retail is a ton of work. Plus, I didn't want to quit my media. Like, even though it was really successful, I didn't want to quit my media career that I had always dreamed of and worked so hard for ever since I was a little kid to run the business full time. So I had to do it part-time, which meant working on all the things outside of my existing job and in addition to being a creator on social media. It just comes to a point, same as like when you're a kid and you're playing high school sports, where you just have to choose. So ultimately we closed it down and the income from that business ended up being a great little nest egg that I was able to keep in my savings. That was kind of the overlap between college and Cosmo. So now we're going to era number 4 and that was my Cosmo era. Honestly, this is when a ton of you guys joined me and this is like a part of my life where I was like fully documenting everything on the internet. I would say I kind of started doing that in college and it just got way more serious like when I was at Cosmo, I was just posting everything all the time. So a lot of you guys either already know this stuff or like can find it. So I'm not gonna spend 5 hours talking about it, I promise. Basically, like I said, I was the editorial assistant and the assistant to the editor-in-chief at Cosmo. The editor-in-chief at the time was Jessica Pels, who I, to this day, would die for. I think she's a brilliant genius. I worked at the Hearst Tower, and I just loved it. This was before COVID, so everyone in the world basically was 5 days a week in office. I felt so like I was living the rom-com life. I was in How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I was waking my butt up. I would sometimes go to the gym before work, and then I would like race to work in like a really cute outfit and full glam. You would go and be in an office with like a bunch of girls and gays all day. So it was very welcoming, very open, like you're with girls, so you could be like, does anyone have a tampon? Like, do you know what I mean? And I was the youngest there by like several years, so I just felt so taken care of. I felt like I had a bunch of big sisters for the first time in my life. College was like not really that experience for me, so even though I was in a sorority, so like I just was like, oh my God, I did it. It was so rewarding. I did some crazy shit. I met some insane people. I literally met Kamala Harris. Okay, girl, what? I was Kamala Harris's point of contact when she visited the Cosmo offices. Okay, like real big celebrities too. I can't remember literally any of them now that I'm on the spot. I like put myself on the spot. Like, girl, you planned this YouTube video. Were there some hard things? Like, yeah, you're still an assistant at like basically a fashion magazine. So there were still like some grueling parts of the job. There were really early mornings, really late nights. I was grinding. And by the way, I was making like $39,000 a year, which is a great salary, but when you're trying to live in New York City, it wasn't actually enough to pay my bills. So it was a really good thing for me that I had Brunch Club on the side, and it was a really good thing for me that I had the influencer stuff on the side, because even though I wasn't making a ton of money on it yet at that point, I was doing some money and enough that like I could have this privilege of having this job that I really wanted and not taking a different job for financial reasons. I just want to say, like, I realize how privileged and how lucky I am and how blessed I am, and it does not go like unnoticed or taken for granted. That role was just really transformative, and she was really transformative in my life, my skill set, my career, my network, and my confidence. So that just really was like the most insanely perfect first job out of college for me, and it set me up for so much success in the rest of my life. We loved our Cosmo era. Era number 5. This one's a hot mess because this was like COVID, my COVID and post-COVID career pivots. Anyone who has been with me since this era knows that I had like 3 jobs. No, it might have been like 2 official jobs and then like a third that I like threw in there in COVID and post-COVID. I never would have left my job at Cosmo if there was any opportunity for upward mobility. However, there were several factors kind of at play all at the same time. So the first thing is that COVID hit. And when COVID hit, I had already had a discussion with Jess and like a meeting to be like, okay, we're gonna start like priming you to be the next social media editor, because the girl who was the social media editor had been in the role for like 2 or 3 years. She was like ready for growth. She was also, I think she was getting a promotion. And so they were kind of like, we're gonna spend the next however long training you to jump into her role when she leaves. So right now you'll kind of like help her in addition to your other responsibilities so that you can learn the ropes. And then when she gets her promotion, you'll move up. And I was like, slay. Now this was about 1.5 years after I entered the role. And like, I'm a restless girly, so I'm not gonna be an assistant for 5 years. That's just like not me. So 1.5 years was perfect timing. I was like great at like roughly the 2-year mark of being in my job. I will get promoted, which means more money and a job that like is a little bit bigger and more aligned with like what I wanna do in my career. So that was great. But when COVID came around, I guess like during times of crisis, especially like financial crisis, a lot of companies will just like freeze all hiring. So they're not like hiring new people. They're not doing promotions. They're not doing raises because like they can't afford to, question mark. I don't know. It seems to me like these big companies have enough money to afford to, but I don't know. Whatever the reasons actually were, the promotion was no longer available for the girl in the role. So my promotion into the social media editor role didn't exist anymore. At that time, I had been at the company for 2 years. And like I said, I'm not like the kind of girl who wants to stay an assistant for very long. Like I need more autonomy, more agency, and like more creative space to like do my thing. And I was just ready for more responsibility. And also, for what it's worth, like really, really not enough money. Really not enough money. Another factor is at the time, not a lot of people were like at Hearst at least, like not a lot of other people at the company were like doing content creation on social media. And there was something like some conversation with me and like upper management where they were like, you maybe need to stop doing it because it interferes with like the interest of the magazine. And I was like, how? And they were like, well, if brands can like pay the editors to promote their stuff, like they might not want to work with the magazine. And I was like, I feel like we have really different audiences, but like same demographic, but like a company that wants to spend like $1,000 with me is not gonna like say, oh, we're not gonna spend $1 million with Cosmopolitan magazine because we spent $1,000 with Sam. We got what we wanted. So that was weird. And that was honestly like one of the driving factors on me leaving. I was like, I'm not giving this up. Like I've been building this. I've been connecting with these people. I just built a community of all these people. I'm not gonna leave them hanging. For what it's worth, now I think magazine companies like really want everyone to be an influencer. So like different world, but like I was just too early to benefit from that. And when I left, I actually heard from another editor who left for that exact reason, who was like, yeah, like it's just like I had to live my dream. And I was like, respect. Anyway, so that was like kind of the only negative thing about me leaving, but that was like would have been a huge conflict for me because I was like, well, these are my girls. I'm not leaving them. So, and then I would say the third factor at play was that COVID was in full swing kind of at this time. And so everyone was working from home. So I also like wasn't getting the benefit of like the office experience, like seeing all my people. I was like DMing with everyone every day. Like it's not the same experience. And so I was like 2 years, no promotion, no more money, no bigger title, no more responsibility, can't be an influencer. And I had to like work from home and just like email you guys on the computer all day. I think I have to look elsewhere. I found my elsewhere at Departures Magazine, which was a luxury travel magazine. At the time, it was, I think, owned and paid for mostly by Amex, but published by Meredith, which is now Dotdash, but was like a legacy media brand at the time. Magazine industry is just really sad, like what has happened to it. It's all like sellouty digital clickbait content, and like a lot of the legacy media brands cannot put out content the way they used to. That's just my opinion. Like I was so disappointed when Meredith became Dotdash, and like no shade to Dotdash, but like it's not the same. Like the glossy era of like being in the rom-com and being a magazine girl, that's over. That's dead. So that it was just like there's just been a major transformation in what I loved about the industry, and that's just bummer. However, at the time, glossies were still in full effect, and this luxury travel job was, not even kidding you, my dream job. It was social media editor role. I think it more than doubled my Cosmo salary, and it was like luxury. So basically I was tasked with creating like engaging social media content. I helped put into production some video series, some like Instagram takeovers, like that kind of stuff. We worked with influencers a lot. And honestly, I crushed in that role. Like I have so much data from my time in that role where it was like I literally like doubled our engagement in like 3 months. Like crazy stuff. And I was so proud of the work I did in that role. Like that was really like my bread and butter. I would say like the best perk of that job and the best part of that job was like you got to travel. So like as the social media editor, I probably went on like a handful of trips. I would say less than 10, which you'll understand why in a second. But I went to some insane places just to like shoot Instagram content and write stories about it. So I went to Amangani, which is like the Amangiri, but like in Wyoming. I went to the White Elephant in Palm Beach, like the Little Nell in Aspen, the Blue Sky Auberge in Park City. Like it was insane, the experiences and just like the level of luxury you could live in that role. Like I say, I wouldn't have left the Cosmo job if there were upward mobility. I wouldn't have left the Departures job for anything. Like I don't care about money. I don't care about anything else. I would have stayed in that exact job for the rest of my life. I mean, what a fucking shame that I wasn't there during normal life. Like I was only there during COVID. So there was no international travel at all, which was like the bane of my existence. But I still got to see some amazing things and go to some amazing places within the continental US. So such a shame that I wasn't there during COVID. But the biggest shame of life is that 5 months after I arrived at the magazine, they were like, it's closing. So they were closing the print magazine, and then the digital, which is where I worked obviously as the social media editor, the digital was like not closing, but changing. So instead of an editorial like online platform, like when you go to cosmo.com and you can like read all the stories, instead of that, they were like, we're gonna basically take it like in-house at Amex or something and make it like a marketing platform. It was just so sad. All our work didn't just get like archived, it got deleted. Like they deleted the internet from the internet, whatever. I'm getting like really in the weeds on this because that was like my dream job and I lived the best, most insane life, especially for someone my age. I was 23 at the time of having that job. Like That was insane. Anyway, I did a temporary social media / event production role at Cynthia Rowley here in the city in Tribeca. I did that for like, I think it was like 2.5 or 3 months. And my primary task while I was there was to put on their annual surf camp, which was so fun. You basically get a bunch of influencers and editors and like writers and journalists together, and we like dress them in Cynthia Rowley for the weekend, and we give them, like, we took them to Montauk. We got them surf lessons, hotel rooms at like this sick hotel out there. It's the Maram dinners. It was really, really cool. I was really proud of that. We did an awesome job that year and everyone had a really good time. And then when that was over, I started working for myself for the first time as a full-time content creator and marketing consultant. And I would say I did that for like a year probably before the next era started, like, and I would say era number 6 is probably the biggest influx of you guys joining me here since like the very beginning. And that was my reality TV era. Like, girl, pick a lane. While I was working for myself, I had a ton of control over how much money I made, what my hours were, like when I was working, who I was working with, and I was 24 years old. So being able to like absolutely grind, like I was working for a while, like 12 to 14 hour days because I just wanted the money. And then I would take Friday off and enjoy the whole weekend of like balling out. So I was really living like a work hard, play harder lifestyle, living it up my early to mid 20s single in New York City. Going out several nights a week, buying designer clothes, designer bags, going on amazing trips, going on dates, meeting a million people. I literally think my early 20s in New York were like the rom-com. And I was kind of in the middle of that work hard, play hard era when a friend of mine let me know that he had recommended me to a casting producer who had reached out to him for a reality TV show that he watched. Like, he was into the show already, so he like knew about it. And I was like, what even is this? So I get on the phone with them with like literally no background at all. And a couple weeks later, I'm moving into a house in the Hamptons. So I go to the Hamptons to film Bravo's Summer House. And let me tell you, that was a roller coaster. The beginning was like equal parts terrifying and fun. Like, I will never forget pulling up to the house. Like, you wait in your car like on the side of the road until they're ready for you to like enter the house, and then you like pull up to the house. And I remember like getting into the driveway and looking at one of the producers and being like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm not just gonna walk into someone's house. That's crazy. That's so rude. That's is not my house. And like all these people know each other and they're all 5 years older than me, and like I like don't know what to do. Like, should I ring the doorbell? Should I call someone? And they don't say anything. They're like, you're good. I'm good? I don't think I'm good. So I just walked into the house. And looking back, I'm really proud of myself for doing that because that was really scary. And like the rest of what was to come after that, I could not have been prepared for. And it's just like, it changed my life. So, you know, you go, girl. And I really just want to say, like, I genuinely had an amazing summer. I met amazing people. I had amazing opportunities. We had so much fun. Like, it is so insane and such a privilege to get paid to have fun with your friends. And like, that's really what Summer House is. And like, that's really what my experience on Summer House was. What was not so fun was my second round of it, where they put me on Winter House, but they like didn't put me on Winter House. They didn't ask me to be a cast member, but they did take the guy I was dating at the time in, I assume, an effort to like make him cheat on me or like expose how like fucked up our relationship was, because we all know it was not a healthy, good, solid relationship. And I'm just like not gonna go into too many details about that because it's not a time in my life that brought me joy. It's not a time in my life that I really identify with. Like, if you watched it and then watched my content now, you'd be like, I don't get it. Like, is that the same person? But some of the people on that show and behind the scenes were like so horrible to me, like so mean and cruel to me. And I got my heart broken. I got lied to. I got shit talked behind my back. Long story short, it sucked. After that, I would say was like the first time in my life where there was like a period of time, like a substantial period of time where I was clinically depressed. Which I would say a lot of people actually didn't know, because there's a huge gap in time between when reality TV shows are filmed and when they air on TV. So like during that gap in time, you kind of just have to like lean into being on reality TV and you're like friends with all these people and like everything's good and everything's fine, because you can't spoil what's going on in the season that will air 6 months from now. So it's actually like really isolating. Not only was I like extremely depressed and like really going through it, but like basically the only people in my life who I could talk to about it were my therapist and my mom, because there are all kinds of NDAs, all that kind of stuff. So not only was I super depressed, I was completely alone. So I would say I was depressed, like things were bad and dark, from like March, which was when the filming ended, to like December-ish, which is when it aired, or like when it finished airing. And the whole thing just showed me like how fake and unhealthy some of the relationships I had were. And I also didn't like what the whole experience brought out in me. Like, I think during the summer, I had a really good time and was able to be like authentic to myself and just like ride the ride and have a good time. But winter brought out insecurity and like just awful, uncomfortable feelings. And there were some people who were really like cruel is the word I would use. Like, they saw me being like sad and nervous and like stepped on my neck. So that was kind of dark. And after all of that ended, I kind of just felt like my life was falling apart. Like, I was going through a horrible breakup. Like, all these people I was like spending all my time with, in this world I was spending all my time in, I didn't go back on the show. And so it's just like such a mind fuck to go from like, I spend every second of my day talking about this, thinking about this, hanging out with these people, and then it goes from like 100 to 0 with like no warning. So that was really crazy. And also like going through the breakup, and then also like the whole internet is weighing in on like all of that, but they don't really know who you are from like the edit you're getting on like a show that's like 45 minutes long once a week. And so the internet, which was really nice to me during Summer House, and like people seemed to like me and vibe with me, got so mean to me during and after Winter House. And there was also a time like in between where like nothing had changed and people started being mean about me anyway. Like, I don't know, like it's just so fickle, and like someone could literally go online and like make up a bunch of lies about you and everyone's like, yeah, Sam's canceled for that. And like, that's kind of crazy. Like, the power of it is kind of crazy. So anyway, when I didn't go back on reality TV after Winter House, I was left with this kind of sense of like, what now? Like, okay, like now what? And looking at the previous, like, what, 5-10 years of my life, it's not exactly like I have a clear linear path to what's next. Like, I was an ex-ballerina turned ex-business owner turned ex-magazine editor turned influencer turned ex-reality TV star. What the fuck? Anyway, that is how we ended up at era number 7, which was my healing journey. And I would say right now I'm in era number 8. So I'll just like update you on era number 7, and then we're almost done. I didn't really know where to start. Like, what should I do for work? What should I do with all this free time? Who was I without reality TV, without an audience commenting on every move I made? And I know that sounds crazy because I was only in this world for like 2 years, but when it is 100% of your time for 2 years, like for me, I actually kept all my other jobs and I kept my other stuff going. And that was so hard because you're really like focused so much and so much of your time is consumed by this. So like I was literally up in the middle of the night, like doing work for my clients. Like, what do you mean? Never forget when one of my clients was like, wait, I'm a huge Summer House fan and I was watching last week and you were on it. And I was like, oh, cool. Okay. Anyway, even though it was only 2 years of my life, it was the it was basically the entirety of the last 2 years. And it's crazy to be thrust so fully into something only to be thrust so fully out. But the weight of this loss of identity and all this free time and all this like empty space was like crushing, especially since during the last few months of all of this, I had actually bought myself this apartment in New York City, which should have been a really exciting and special time. Like, obviously the guy I was dating at the time totally downplayed it and blew it off and made it seem like it was like another fucking Tuesday, like F you. Like, I don't even think he congratulated me, so that was cool. But like, that was totally overshadowed by all of this shit. And on top of it, I had never lived alone by myself ever before. And so like for the first time, I'm feeling isolated, I'm feeling depressed. And then it's like, I don't have anyone to come home to. Like, I don't have, like, I was so used to living with my girlfriends. Like, I had spent so long with that kind of built-in support system, but it was just really hard to like suddenly be like in a new neighborhood, in a new apartment by myself. Like, I just felt totally alone in the world. So long story short, even though I literally didn't know anything, I knew one thing, and I knew that the first step to like getting better, like getting out of this depression, was to just work on myself and focus on myself. So I did a lot of therapy. I spent a lot of time with my closest friends and family. I spent a lot of time alone, and I completely prioritized, like above every other thing in my life, my mental and my physical health in an attempt to feel better. And as I started to get my spark back, I just felt like so compelled to share my experience because I knew I was not the only girl in the world to go through this. Like, admittedly, yeah, like the reality TV stuff is a little bit unique, but the rest of it, not really. Like, you're going through a breakup, like life is changing in your mid-20s, like you don't know who you are, you're trying to find yourself, like, yeah, that's everybody. And I just knew there were girls out there who would want to feel seen and heard and feel like there was like community and like they weren't alone, and like, here's how I'm digging myself out of this like miserable hole. And if you're in a miserable hole, like maybe you'll find some comfort or some advice or some solace in like, you're not the only one going through this. And eventually I had just made a ton of progress. Like, I was so happy and so healthy. My friendships were so strong. I like had figured out who I was. I felt like very purposeful in my life. I felt like everything was like back and better than ever. Like, you know, when you finally wake up and you're like healed from the bullshit and you're like, oh my God, the world is my oyster. Like, I woke up like that one day and I was like, oh, it really does get better. So that is when I decided to start my podcast, to finally just like share all the stuff I had experienced and learned. That podcast is called Caps Lock. I still do make the podcast today. Episodes come out every Sunday at 8 a.m. Eastern. Plug. The kind of tagline of the show is like, I want you to live a life that's bigger, better, louder, and longer. And the idea is like, I want you to take up space. I want you to level up. I want you to like use your voice and like feel seen and heard, and I want you to live forever. Like, and that's where kind of the physical health part comes in. And I have to say, I'm honestly really proud of it. Like, I have achieved some milestones that I'm really proud of that like I kind of never thought were possible. And even in 2026, like it's only February, and 2 things on my vision board that were on the vision board specifically for the podcast have already come true. Like, we've already manifested. And I can't tell you what they are yet, but they're amazing. And if you stick around and keep listening to the podcast, you'll figure out what they are. I'll tell you in a moment. Anyway, my most popular episodes, I would say, cover topics like why I stopped drinking, hormonal health, longevity, how to become a morning person, how to be more productive, science-backed habits that like will level up your life. I was basically just trying to make a podcast that I really needed when I was starting out on my healing journey. That's it. So the show premiered in December of 2024, and now it's February 2026, and we've already done some amazing things, and I'm so excited. Like, we have so many big plans for 2026 in terms of like just bringing this to your life like in an even bigger way. So it's not like just a podcast, it's like an experience for you too. And that is how we got to era number 8, and that's the era that I'm in right now. Right now, here we are, you and me, era number 8. Do you see what I mean by like, if you just got here, you might be like, who the fuck is this? And like, what is she talking about? Like, no 2 experiences even like make sense next to each other. Era number 8, it's giving healed, it's giving happy. I met my boyfriend William literally 7 years ago as friends. He was actually friends and roommates with my boyfriend at the time, 7 years ago. And we were just friends for years and years. And like, after me and that boyfriend broke up, William and I stayed in like very loose touch. Like, we went out to dinner one time, not too long after the breakup, but then like we just kind of stayed like acquaintances. Like, we'd run into each other in the city sometimes. And then we reconnected to go on a date in June of 2024. We've been together ever since, a little bit over a year and a half now. Now it's February 2026 and we're just so in love. Like I said, he lives here. That's his nightstand. What? I renovated the apartment a little bit in 2025, so I added air conditioning and I completely got renovated the kitchen, which there's like content on this YouTube channel somewhere about that. Then in September, he moved in with me, and ever since he moved in, like, yeah, he brought his stuff, but we've also been putting some like finishing touches on the apartment together. So we installed a built-in bookcase. Like, we're just making it feel like a real home for us. I've been living in this apartment for a little over 2 years, and like, I've just been dying for it to finally feel like 100% home. Why is my throat? No, something just like fell from the sky, and it better not have been a person. No, guys, something like big. The guys who work in my building are like down there doing stuff, and no one is like screaming or crying. So I'm assuming that wasn't a human, but whatever it was huge, and it just plummeted past my window. What? Okay, I really hope it was like trash or something from the renovation upstairs. That was literally terrifying. No, my heart's racing. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Anyway, I'm just like, I don't even know how to get back into my story now. Like, that was, okay. Anyway, I'm just really looking forward to the apartment being done. It will feel like a huge accomplishment. This has been a major investment, like financially and in terms of my like time and energy as well. And okay guys, I'm literally so rattled. Not me like just completely, I just like pulled the thing on my chair and it dropped me down a little bit. Let's see if I can get back to a normal height now. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, that thing that went past my window completely like threw me out of this. But it will just feel like an enormous accomplishment for this apartment to be finished. And if you're like just catching up or you're new here, the reason I bought it in the first place was like, I'm playing the long game. Like I want my kids to have a place in New York that they can live in and call home. I want a place for like me to always own a part of this city that like basically raised me. Like no matter where I live full time, I'll always have a slice of New York. Like this is a commitment that I made and I'm so proud of it. And when it's finished, I'm just gonna be like over the moon. So I'm gonna do definitely content about like finishing the apartment, an apartment tour. We're gonna get it professionally photographed. Like we're gonna do the whole shebang so that you guys can like live this experience with me and like see the home. But like you'll notice it's like just never been fully done in any of my content because it's never been fully done. Back to the rest of my life. William and I are talking about getting engaged. People like always think I'm wearing an engagement ring or like a wedding band or something when they stumble upon my content online. And it's just because I've worn these rings on my hand, my left hand for my whole life. And sorry, not engaged. We're just talking about doing that now. That is an era, obviously, like we're both so excited for, and I can't wait to bring you guys along because you'll just be with me from literal day one of it. I'm gonna show you guys ring shopping. He has a secret mission today that he like said I wasn't invited to go on with him. And I think it's to see his family jeweler. And I have a couple friends who work in engagement rings, like the industry. So we're going actually on Thursday, oh my God, tomorrow morning, to my friend Olivia's company, The Clear Cut. They have a headquarters here in New York. And she said we could just try on rings because the style that I'm interested in, most jewelers don't just have like lying around. So we're gonna go to her to like try rings on. And I think we're buying the ring with our family jeweler. Well, he's buying the ring with his family jeweler. I'm not paying for that. I'm paying for the wedding. Anyway, that'll be such a fun era to bring you guys along for. So much to like talk about. My family is happy and healthy. I am happy and healthy. We are happy and healthy. I'm doing the podcast and working as a content creator. That's like the bulk of my full-time jobs. And I'm just in a place in my life where I felt this pull to share long form content on YouTube again. Obviously you can tell I'm a little bit long-winded. And so that's what I'm doing here. I just like wanted to bring you guys in my day-to-day because ever since I started talking about wellness more on my Instagram and TikTok, I just feel like it's less of like me and like my life and more about like, here's 4 reasons you should eat dinner at 6 p.m. instead of 8 p.m. Like, you know, like it's not, I just feel like this is a place where we can connect more. So on here and on my social media profiles, I will be sharing about like wellness and fitness and health, but I'll also be sharing about life in New York. I'll also be sharing about my relationship and like my life and whatever's going on. And I hope you stick around and I hope you like it. And I hope you give me friends. And if you have been here since like one of those earlier eras, I just want to take a moment and say thank you for being here and for being loyal and for sticking with me through all the ups and the downs and like the twists and turns. And as we just discussed, there have been a lot. I have a couple of you who I DM with regularly, who I have been DMing with for 10 plus years at this point. And it's hard to express genuinely without sounding like tacky and fake how much that means to me. As long as I'm able to share with you and communicate with you guys, I don't feel alone. And that has been so instrumental in my life and like over the last 10 years, because obviously this is my career, but way more important to me than that is like, this is a family and this is a community and I care about you guys. And I really feel like we know each other and like we're there for each other. And so it's just something that I'm so grateful for. And I just want to say thank you. And if you're new here, thanks for joining because this is real fun. It's a fun place to be. Anyway, that was about 2.5 yaps. So I'm gonna go, but thanks for coming to my channel. If you want to stay along for the ride, please like, comment, and subscribe, especially subscribe so that you like know when new videos are coming out and you can just stay fully up to date. And I will see you guys on the flip. I never know how to end these videos. That was kind of embarrassing. Okay, love you, mean it.